Guys, this video is going to be the Miami Heat current state of address. You know, the U.S. does a state of address every year when the president comes and speaks about the position that the United States of America is in. And we're going to be doing one for the Miami Heat. So we're going to talk about 9 topics, actually 10 topics today. And it'll be a pretty lengthy video, hopefully. But we're going to be talking about 10 topics today. And let's get right into it. First, we're going to be talking about the signings and re-signings that the Miami Heat have had during free agency so far. Now, we signed Rodney McGruder from our summer league, who also played in our D League. Then we signed Wayne Ellington to a 2-year, $12 million contract. Hassan Whiteside to a 4-year, $98 million deal. James Johnson to a 1-year, $4 million deal. And we re-signed UD just around 10 minutes ago to a 1-year, $4 million deal as well. Now, we're going to start with my opinion on Rodney McGruder. I was watching his D-League highlights and what he's been doing so far in the Summer League. Now, I feel like the Summer League hasn't really shown what McGruder really has to offer to a team. Out of what I've seen from his D-League highlights and what I've heard about him, he seems like a very, very, very well-capable guard that can play in the NBA, and I feel like he just hasn't had his shot yet. He was doing very, very well. I think there was a point where he went on a very long stint of 20 points games, which is for the D League, I guess, is very, very good, where he had that amount of games straight that he scored 20 points. I think he went on a 5-game streak of 30 points. So very, very talented guard, and I think that he is capable to get into the NBA. We signed him to a 3-year deal. I don't know what the money is for the 3-year deal, but I know we signed him to a 3-year deal, and it seems like he could be very, very valuable for us. But we do also have a lot of guards on the team. And the next guard we're going to be talking about, like I said, is Wayne Ellington, who we signed a 2-year, $12 million contract to, so he'll get $6 million a year. I don't know a lot about Wayne Ellington. I think he played for Brooklyn before us. So I really have not a lot to say on him. So I'm just going to move on to Hassan Whiteside. Now, it is re-signing. So we re-signed Hassan Whiteside. If you didn't see my free agency video, I personally, as a Miami Heat fan, didn't want them to re-sign Hassan Whiteside. But then when I looked at what the free agency pool was later on after making that video, I realized that, yeah, we definitely need to re-sign Hassan Whiteside, because the pool after that is just a bunch of washed up either has-beens or players who just had maybe one good game and now they're going to get $64 million. Timothy Mozgov. And then I think that Hassan Whiteside was definitely a guy. He will be our free agent, I guess you could say, splash in a way for the re-signing, and he is going to be the new face of the franchise since Dwayne Wade is gone. So he's definitely going to have to step up his game and see where he goes from there. The next one is James Johnson. Now, what I've seen from James Johnson in a couple of highlights is that he can hit some good shots every now and then. It will be interesting to see what he does on his deal with us. But from there, we really are going to have to just see how everything fluctuates itself out. And one guy I forgot to mention before we get into UD as well is Derek Williams. We also signed Derek Williams to a deal, and he said that he wanted to come play for Coach Spo because he knows that he can, I guess you could say, make his potential even higher playing on the Miami Heat organization, which makes you think if Eric Spoelstra is more of a free agent attraction than Pat Riley, but we're not going to get into that today. That'll be a video on a later date. And then we get into Udonis Haslem, who re-signed a 1-year, $4 million deal, really to just get another veteran, or really to get the veteran of the locker room of Udonis Haslem. Now we're going to talk about the current roster, the starting 5, and then how everything levels itself out after that. So our starting 5 would be Goran Dragic, Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow, James Johnson, and Hassan Whiteside. Now, you see I don't mention Chris Bosh because, like I said, that's going to be another topic for another day. But I just don't want to include Chris Bosh in this just because currently he's not, I guess you could say, a part of the Miami Heat plans out of outside sources that we have seen. So that would be our starting 5. You'd have Goran at the point, Josh Richardson at the 2, Justice at the 3, and then James Johnson at the 4, and Hassan Whiteside at center. So I think that this could be a very valuable starting 5 in the way that I think Goran, Richardson, and Winslow and Whiteside all worked very, very well on the court last year for the Miami Heat. And so I feel like they're going to be very good assets to us in the terms of I feel like they're going to really produce. And when they were on the court all together, they were producing. So we're really going to have to see how that goes from there. I mean, if we still had Dang instead of James Johnson, in my personal opinion from watching the Heat games last year, I think it could be a deadly starting five because they're able to run up down the court and they have guys who can play some defense. So we'll really have to see how James Johnson comes into that mix of those four. But I know when they were on the court last year, they were very, very productive. So we have to see what happens with them. Then we get into the other guys. We have Briante Weber, Rodney McGruder, UD, Josh McRoberts, Darrell Wright, and we have the finishing touch of Derek Williams. I feel like our sixth man will be Derek Williams, then it'll go Briante Weber, then McGruder, then McRoberts, then Darrell Wright, and then UD, just because UD doesn't play a lot. But you never know, he might have to play some more this season, so we really have to see how everything shapes out for us. But that's our current roster. I do have a lot of faith in the roster, maybe as a really optimistic Heat fan, but just from the point of view that I think that this roster could shape out to be very well in the future, and we'll just have to see where that goes. And that'll lead us into our third topic, which is what does the future hold for the Miami Heat? Right now, the future kind of seems like it doesn't hold a lot for the Miami Heat, and outside sources are trying to paint us as a horrible organization and just horrible people in general, and I really don't appreciate that. Let me move my mic a little bit. I really just don't appreciate that as a Heat fan because I put out a video about the Dwayne Wade situation where when Dwayne Wade came into the NBA, I was 5 years old. And so I grew up really with Dwayne Wade and with the Heat from that era. So from 2003 up until now. And what I've seen from afar, once I got to understand basketball when I was around 10 years old, I was able to see how the NBA really worked. And I was able to see how classy the Miami Heat organization was. And throughout those losing seasons that we had after the championship year, I was able to see how business really broke down in the NBA and how everything really worked and meshed well together. And I feel like this is just another situation that paints the Heat in a light where we could be very good in the future and where we can have those chances to make sure that we show everybody what we're really trying to do and how we're going to be when it comes down to us being a contender in the future. But at the end of the day, it'll all really reflect and come down to what happens this year, because there's a lot that should happen this year. We should have a high pick if we don't make the playoffs. I personally think that we can make the playoffs. As just a quick thing, as it just got reported right now to me through Watch, is that the Portland Trailblazers have matched Alan Crabb's 4 years, $75 million offer sheet with Brooklyn. So if the Heat match Tyler Johnson, which that's a perfect segue into Tyler Johnson, then Brooklyn will be left with nothing again. But should the Heat match Tyler Johnson? That's our fourth topic of the day. No. And ecstatic, and I couldn't be any happier to say no. The Heat should not, and I hope will not, match Tyler Johnson's contract. And it's not because Tyler Johnson's a bad player. Tyler Johnson has shown that when he is on the court and not dealing with injuries, he could be a valuable asset for the team that he's playing on. Which, when you really come down to think about that, you're very happy with that because, hey, we have a guy who we can sort of rely on when it comes to being able to score some points. And that's the Heat's big thing always, is they can play defense without a doubt. It just comes down to scoring points and three-point shooting. And Tyler Johnson wasn't always around because he had to deal with injuries, but he was productive when he was on the court for us, and that's really what matters. But that contract is not a contract that the Miami Heat should match. I know it's kind of a freaking out period right now, but Pat Riley doesn't freak out. Pat Riley knows what he's doing, but I think that they should not match his contract. It's a poison pill contract, as they call it. You got the $1 million cap hit this year, 5.6 I think next year, and then 18 and 19 million, which I think the Heat would just be put in a position of, hey, guess what? I played good for these past 2 years, and now I'm getting my contract for what should be. But by then, actually, when you think about it, it could be a very valuable contract. But I just don't think that it's a contract we should match. And I think that we should just let TJ go on to his new endeavor. The fifth topic that we have on the day is, will the Miami Heat make the playoffs? I think that the Miami Heat have a chance to make the playoffs. A lot of my coworkers, as well as my friends, do not think the same with me, but I believe in the Miami Heat and the Miami Heat organization for one reason and one reason only. Just because it's the Miami Heat. Now, of course, we have those seasons like the 08-09 and 09-010 seasons where they're not very productive, but during those times, Eric Spoelstra was coaching a team that was on one-year contracts, not very good players at all, at least not even what we have now, because what we have now is a bunch of young potential. What we had then wasn't very young potential. It was kind of washed out has-beens, and it's really just not what we would have liked to see in those years, especially as Heat fans. But then you come back, and then the Big Three era, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think this is one of the 2008, 2009, 2010 years where they're just awful. I think this is a year where it just shows, hey, we can still progress with a very talented young roster. And I say very talented because they do have a lot of potential to make the playoffs and to be great in the NBA. I mean, Josh Richardson has a lot of potential, and you saw last year in the second half of the season how valuable he was to the Miami Heat with the clutch threes he made. Definitely one of our best three-point shooters by far on the team. If Dang and Wade and Goran and Justice and company, even Joe Johnson wasn't stepping up, you knew you could give it to Josh Richardson and he would make the shot. And he had some cold games, but everyone has some cold games. Josh was always a valuable piece in that second half of the season after coming back from the D-League. And it just goes also to show that the Miami Heat are very good at developing players. But we go into now another young talent, Justice Winslow. Yeah, his shot wasn't very good last year, but they didn't draft him for his shot. They drafted him for his potential and because of the defense that he plays. Josh Richardson, very good scorer, very good defense. Justice Winslow, not a very good scorer at this point in time, but he is an amazing defender, and that's something that the Heat always take pride in. If you saw Justice Winslow, he had a camp specifically for defense. He had a basketball camp where all they did was defense. And that's very valuable for the future of the NBA because, okay, maybe you don't like very defensive games and you don't like the slow pace of it, but that's just teaching a new generation of the NBA how to play defense because, yeah, you like the high scoring. You like to watch the Warriors. You love to watch the Big Three when they were apart, like they were assembled. But sometimes in those key moments, you want defense. And then you complain, oh, we have no defense. Well, you just said you didn't want defense this entire time, and now you want defense all of a sudden? What the heck is going on? Then you go into Briante Weber. Briante Weber, I think, can be very, very good for us, at least at the point when it comes to the future once Goran Dragic is out of the picture for the Miami Heat, because he's just shown those flashes here and then. Even when we picked him up, I mean, his first game, he was driving to the basket, making points, pulling up, making some jumpers. I mean, it was pretty interesting to see because I had never heard of Briante Weber. I didn't know who the hell he was. And then once we signed him, I looked up a little about him. He did really good in our D-League. And then he just came to the NBA and he was making some nice passes. He was scoring a little bit. Not a lot, obviously. He wasn't scoring like 10 points a game, stuff like that. He was scoring like 2 points a game, 4 points a game, which, for the position he was in, is still pretty good for what he had. Then we go to Rodney McGruder. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but out of what I've seen from Rodney McGruder in the D-League, if we can bring him into the NBA and do the same that we did with Josh Richardson, this guy is going to be special because it just looks like he has the talent to be special. He went on, I think, a 20-game stint of scoring 20 points in a row. I think he went on 5 games straight of scoring 30 points in a row. I mean, that is potential. Even if it's in the D-League, that's still showing that you can score. And then maybe he has some issues with defense. We'll never really know yet, but it's something that we will bring up that'll be very good for us, I guess you could say, in the long run. And right there, that's those 4 guys. Hassan Whiteside is in his, what you could say, prime years, and would still not really have a lot of mileage on him even when he gets into his 30s because he wasn't playing a lot. he wasn't taking the wear and tear of the 82-game season of the NBA. So he still has a good maybe like 6, 7, maybe even 8 years left on his body. So that's very good for us, at least, you could say, because he hasn't been through all that wear and tear. And he's already, I guess you could say, near his potential. But honestly, for Hassan Whiteside, the sky's the limit, and you really don't know what can happen with him. When we get to the next topic, which is topic number 6, Chris Bosh's future. I did say we were going to talk about this in another video, but I forgot that I did have this on my list. And I think the Miami Heat just ripped the Band-Aid and either find a trade partner for Chris Bosh. I don't know who would do it if he gets medically cleared, or they just released him and bite the bullet of the $11 million cap hit every year. It will free up $14 million, but I just think that's the path that they go down. Chris's end as a Miami Heat player isn't going to be as nice as you would think or want it to be. It's going to be way worse and more brutal than the end of D Wade, which sucks for us. And it's a little bit of a serious topic, but who really knows what can happen there. Our number 7 topic of the day is, should they trade for Russell Westbrook? Now, if you know anything about the NBA, if you really know anything about the NBA, you know that Pat Riley would not be afraid to pull the trigger on a trade for a whale like Russell Westbrook. I think that if maybe they get the right trade to OKC, that he'll pull it off. But what do you mean when you get a right trade? Would you have to... The sources that are coming out for rumors, as I have to clear my throat, are saying that the trade would have to be Goran Dragic, Justice Winslow, and 2 first-rounders, which isn't a horrible trade. But, I mean, you would replace your starter with Russ, obviously. Your new starting forward would have to be Derek Williams. So, really interesting there, but I don't really know if they should trade for Russ. If they have to trade Justice, I guess that works out, but I would only do the trade if and only if we knew that he was going to re-sign with us and we were able to get a deal done. But I don't know. I know that he told OKC he's not going to re-sign with them, so we'll have to see what they do with their future and if they are going to keep him or not. Our number 8 one is, I wanted to ask you guys down in the comments to really comment how you feel about Dwayne Wade leaving and the whole Dwayne Wade situation. I don't really have a lot to say. I already made a video about it. I'll link it down in the description. But I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about D Wade leaving. Do you think it was a wise thing for the Miami Heat to do? Do you think it wasn't a wise thing? Let me know down in the comment section below. Because I'm really interested to see what other people feel. I know I've seen the sort of radio broadcasters aspect of it, but I haven't really seen a lot from the fans besides, oh, I wish he stayed. So I really want to know what you guys think about the Dwayne Wade situation, even if you're not a Miami Heat fan, from an outsider's point of view, I guess. Our number 9 topic is, do you think a whale, as Pat Riley says it, is going to think of signing with the Miami Heat next year? And we really have to consider it because Dwayne Wade put it out there, and it was true, is that relationships are important. LeBron James and Chris Bosh don't end up down in Miami if it's not for Dwayne Wade. Yeah, Pat Riley likes to boast about being the godfather, which he is. I mean, you've heard players say, once you're done with the Heat, you're done. There's special circumstances every now and then. You saw it with Zoe, but most of the time, when you're done with the Heat, you're done. Like, you're gone. He won't even accept you back on the veterans minimum. I mean, the dude, like people say, they call him the godfather. He treats things like the mob. Mob mentality about it. But you really have to wonder from there. I don't think that people are really necessarily attracted to the Miami Heat at this point in time. I don't think it's going to be like the Lakers and the Knicks and the Nets and the Sixers and all these other teams, but I don't think that at this current point in time, maybe next offseason, once the NBA Finals is over and we're getting to the talk, maybe there's guys who are attracted to the Miami Heat, but I think right now there's not a lot of superstars, or Pat Riley calls it whales, that are very attracted to the Miami Heat. Our 10th statement, as we're nearing in 20 minutes here, is just the final statement from me. I want to thank you guys. I'm almost at 100 subs. I think I'm 12 away which is going to be very cool for me to see, because if you have been subscribed to me for a while, you know I used to do gaming videos, and then I went on to do sports commentating because I felt like it wouldn't be very good for me to do gaming anymore, because I wasn't really getting a lot of attention that I would have liked to get. And for the guys who have come on here in the recent times and have liked my videos, I just want to thank you guys a lot, because I know I don't put a lot of editing work into my videos. You don't see all this crazy editing like other people do, but I do put a lot of time into thinking about what topics I want to do and really trying to go in depth, like these videos that you've seen, the 20-minute videos of the topic I'm talking about. For those of you who don't really necessarily watch the NBA a lot, let's say you're a football guy most of the time and you don't really know a lot about the NBA, to get that sort of perspective and to get really the mind of a fan like the Heat or the Dolphins or other teams like that from my point of view. So if you're an outsider looking in, you can really get to see the mind of a fan from those teams. So I'd like to thank you guys a lot. Like I said, we're almost at 100 subscribers. So if you have anyone who likes the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins, or really just sports in general, let them know about my channel. I will be posting a lot more about this. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. Like I said, there's always a lot of videos about this. Most of them are all down in the description, so you can always click the links down below. And it's basically every video that I've posted so far. Once I start making more videos, I'm going to have to stop that and just put them into playlists, and then put the playlist down there from the beginning. But like I said, I just want to thank you guys. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did like the video, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, comment down below, like I said, what your feelings are about Dwayne Wade. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.